You can blame the American idolization of the country or the industry's obsession with targeting only 12-year-old girls, but most people will agree that the state of music is pretty bleak. This summer, folks, the question is, what's wrong? Who's going to fix it? Let's see if we have any of the answers. We just might when we go into the loop. Joining us via satellite to help us make sense of it all from Los Angeles, Mike Cosgrove, drummer for Alien Ant Farm, whose new CD, Up in the Attic, is out now. From our nation's capital, David Butler of XM Satellite Radio is with us. And from New York, Alan Light, former editor-in-chief of Spin Magazine and the author of The Skills to Pay the Bills, the story of the Beastie Boys. Gentlemen, welcome to The Loop. Mike, got to start with you. You're the musician here. You're making the product. Why aren't people buying this stuff? What's wrong? Is it the quality of the music itself?
Well, I hope it's not my product that's got something wrong. But, I think the quality of pop music these days has just kind of started to go down. You got people like Lindsay Lohan and, I don't know, Paris Hilton making records when I kind of would like to see them maybe making porno or something. But
well, I do believe at least one of the two is in that business. They have dabbled. But David, what's the problem here? Is it pop music's fault entirely? Are they the ones to blame?
There's a ton of great music out there. It's just getting harder and harder to find it. You know, you can go to internet radio, you can go to satellite radio. There are places out there that are still playing lots of great music. But if you go to cable television channels that are playing less and less music, if you go to traditional radio stations that are playing a lot more commercials than any sort of music, it's getting tougher and tougher for the music fan to find great music.
Well, Alan, why is that? Why is it that the radio stations and the cable television networks, they seem to only appeal to the pop? They're like kind of the pop pushers of the world.
Right. Well, I think the biggest problem is that record companies used to be record companies, and now they're divisions of multinational corporations, and they need to answer to shareholders. And the thought of career development and taking time and investing in an artist, they just can't afford to do that anymore. I mean, you can't sign U2 or Bruce Springsteen or somebody and say 5 years from now they're going to be really big. You know, you're going to be out of your job. What you need to come up with is what's going to sell the most, the fastest, with the least risk, and that's where you see, Paris Hilton getting a record contract. Because then you know that's going to get the attention. You know there's going to be at least a little bit of buzz around that, and that's what they're looking for right now.
Mike, is that what you're seeing as well? Does it seem like the labels, they want your one-hit wonder and then they're done?
Well, I guess, everybody wants to cash in on that, but I don't think that it's ever been any different. Like in the music business, it's business, and people want to make money for sure. I think that, kids have ADD when it comes to music as it is, and there's just so much of it and so much access or accessibility to it with the satellite radio and all that, So I think that people can change the channel and do whatever they want, and they're just overwhelmed with what's out there. And the stuff that gets pushed, with all the money are the good-looking people that, are sexy and all that kind of stuff, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they practiced or did anything like that.
Well, now, what about the concert scene here? Because, David, it seems that a lot of people they're afraid to go to a concert, and is that because maybe they've only had one single jam down their throat when they see the show, they could care less about the rest of the set?
I think so. I think you've got a problem where you do have record labels and local radio stations that are much more concerned about generating hits and generating cash than they are nurturing artists. So the audience, they tune in for a few months, they get tired of the artist, they put them down, they look for the next big thing. As we said before, there was a time when labels and radio stations and the industry in general was more about building careers and nurturing the artist instead of just churning out one, nameless, faceless hit.
Well, what about, let's take a roster of established bands. Alan, Lollapalooza happened this past weekend. Used to be this giant traveling event. Now it seems to be relegated to just one simple show. Is that because the fan interest has died down across the board, or what's the reason for this?
Well, I think things have gotten so fragmented. I mean, you've seen each piece of the business get big enough to be independent, where hip-hop is its own industry, and emo is its own industry, and country music is its own business. And so it's really hard to find ways to mix and match those audiences and find, a way to take something out that's going to appeal a little more across the board or draw enough to sustain a tour. But, as Mike said, it's true. This isn't anything new. There's always been dumb pop music for kids. Before the Beatles came, we had Fabian and all the teen pop idols of the early 60s, and then something came around to shake that up. Now what's coming around to shake that up is the technology, is the access that people are going to have through the web, through internet radio, through satellite radio. There are more ways to find stuff. It's just, it takes more work and more time to swim through
I think
that
technology has definitely blown up the ways we access our music. And we'll see where music is at next summer, but if the current trends continue, it's looking not so good, folks. Thanks to our guests Mike, David, and Alan for joining us at the Digital Water Cooler and keeping us in the loop. Gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure.